Hello everyone. Now I don't typically do anything that might be described as journalism on this channel. I do commentary and discussion, I expound on various topics, things in the news, things to do with gaming, do review, a bit of everything really on this channel, but not journalism. This is something of an exception to that. So I managed to secure an interview with Kevin Rolfe. There's no point trying to hide his name anymore, it's already out there. He is the games master around whom this whole UK Games Expo fuss has exploded after he supposedly had a gang rape scene in a game of minors and with someone underage at the table. This doesn't appear to be the case. Now the interview we conducted via text because we both wanted to make sure that everything that was said was accurate and we could have a little bit of back and forth to make sure things were clarified and so on. Full disclosure, I have corrected some of the spelling and some of the grammar, but otherwise everything is as he said it to me. I will try to keep the editorializing to a minimum until the end, where I will give my commentary on this whole affair and hopefully let that be an end to it. So here's the interview then. I'll be on your screen and I'll be talking for my questions, and then I'll put his picture up and read off his answers. I have pitched the sections with his answers up slightly, as I pretty much always do when I'm quoting someone else. This isn't to make them sound silly, just as it isn't in any other set of events. It's just so that people who are only listening can differentiate between when it's me talking and when it's him talking in his voice, and the higher pitch seems easier for people to hear and to understand than the lower pitch. So here we go. Kevin, could you summarise in your own words exactly what happened?
When I came up with the adventure, I had two scenes in mind. Number one, the lads drunk or high outside a kebab shop at 1 AM trying to get enough money together to buy a kebab. And two, the lads naked, handcuffed, covered in poo, being chased by men with guns, which seemed funny. I was thinking gross-out humour, Porky's, American Pie, and The Inbetweeners, with a bit of Train Spotting and a dash of carry-on films, but ending with a light touch of Hostel. To get from the kebab shop to covered in poo, I came up with the lads on tour Club 18 to 30 idea. But as with all plans, not all of it survived first contact with the players. I forgot bits, the covered in poo part for one, and missed some of the comedic beats. The second gross-out teenage comedy horror I ran later for the UK Games Expo's teen leaders hit all of its comedy beats and was very funny. The game was halted at 11:30, so the giant robots attacking the rave scene fell flat. This was a mashup of the Inbetweeners movie and Hostel. Not the greatest scenario. A bunch of rich guys wanted to hunt some Englishmen for sport. Act 1 was the PCs trying to get the money for a Club 18 to 30 holiday. Act 2 was the arrival in Ibiza. Act 3, I removed the player agency for 2 minutes for a narrative segment and then continued. The narration went, the tour rep gives you some shots, everything goes fuzzy. In my notes, it states the drug used not only knocks them out, it gives them terrible diarrhea, hence no clothes and sore bums. You wake up naked, handcuffed to each other with sore bums in the back of a van. Guys with guns make you get out and say, run. The image of the Inbetweeners lads running naked over wasteland handcuffed together seemed a funny image, which is why I constructed the narrative just to get to that scene. However, in the post-game chat with all the players, I completely forgot to talk through the bits they missed, as we were all talking about the structure of shock in horror games. I believe this omission on my part has caused the problem. The players saw something that wasn't there, and I failed to rectify this as we started discussing something else. Had one of the players raised the issue, I would have remembered. However, I accept that it was my fault that I forgot. After they ran, they had the option of a farm or the woods. They went with the farm. Had they gone with the woods, they would have met the robots hiding there. I bumped into one of the players from the group of 4 friends who played. He said he was annoyed that there were no robots. Had they gone into the woods?
Did you advertise the game as a horror scenario or with an age restriction?
It was advertised as an 18+ scenario using a darkly mature game, but the blurb clearly showed it to be a gross-out teenage scenario, something like grubby teenage lads doing grubby teenage lad things.
Did the players remain for the entire session?
Yes. We began with a chat about the systems and dark themes within them.
When were you aware that there was a problem?
Nothing until 11ish, when I got a call about something on Twitter. In fact, one of the group of 4 said he was looking forward to the game of Cult the following day.
Did the convention staff listen to your side of things at all?
I'd been up since 4 and had just run 12 hours of games. I was in a bit of shock, so not 100% as to what was going on, only that there had been no complaint and that they were going off something that was on Twitter. I think I tried to roughly explain the scenario, but I'm not really sure what I said.
Do you intend to appeal the convention's decision?
Yes, I'm sending them a statement with a request to remove the inaccurate press statement they put out due to the defamatory nature of their statement.
Were any of the players underage? What about the characters?
The age rating was 18+. The players were 18+, as were the PCs.
Did the gang rape of minors actually take place in the game, and was it described as such or in lurid detail?
Not at all. Both my GM notes and the recording I made of the game clearly show nothing of the sort happened.
It's my understanding that while Tales from the Loop is more a kids on bikes game, Things from the Flood is more of a horror game with more adult content. Is that right?
No, both are darkly mature games. Anyone who's read the books knows this. Just a read through of the scenarios in Tales shows it's an 18+ game.
Were you aware of any convention rules prohibiting the kind of content in your game before this all blew up?
I have been running roughly 8 games a year for UK Expo for nearly a decade, minus the year I had open heart surgery, so had an understanding of the rules. But given there was no gang rape of minors, it was not an issue.
You don't seem quite as social media connected as a lot of people are. What has it been like for you being cancelled in this way?
I only have a locked down Facebook that I use to keep in contact with family. It's quite mad to think the game of Internet Whispers is revolving around you. I'm reading bits thinking, that never happened. Makes you think about the fake/real news age of misinformation we've woken up to. Bloody insane. The pseudo-death threats and threats of violence from clicking keys in somebody's mum's basement would be funny if it wasn't happening to you.
Some people talk as though you have a bit of a reputation for pushing boundaries and being edgy. Is that fair to you at all?
No, I run games that have twists or that turn genres on their heads. I've run every genre from Dad's Army versus the Deep Ones to Delta Green to Musketeers in the Hollow Earth.
Have you been able to counter these accusations anywhere, or have you been prevented from doing so?
I have not really spoken to anyone. I've not begun to online just yet.
Your delayed Kickstarter has been brought up and used as a way to attack you, but I saw an update from May 15th. Do you still intend to deliver, and do you have a revised timetable?
This is really a conversation between me and the backers, but my open heart surgery delayed things. A full draft was dropped a while ago. This whole thing opens up the debate. What is or is not acceptable? My Farog? Let's Kill the Ice Cream Man? Lover in the Ice? Any of the Lamentations of the Flame Princess adventures? Even the Alien RPG, a game based on a film where a monster puts its genitalia down your throat to empty its seed inside you. I guess gross-out teenage comedy needs to be added to that list.
And my thanks to Mr. Rolfe for being willing to talk to me. I hope that has cleared up a lot of the situation for people. Interesting to note that there is a recording of the session. I wonder if that's going to become a more common thing for people who GM in public spaces. It's a kind of condemnation of how bad things have gotten. If people do feel that they have to start doing that for their own self-defense, I guess. A criticism you might have is that I haven't also talked to the players that were involved. They have turned up, some of them, at least one of them, in a few of the Facebook groups that I participate in, specifically to ask that any and all links about this story and about these issues be removed because they felt re-traumatized. In that situation, I don't think there is anything that I could do to talk to them without causing more trouble or bringing more accusations down upon my head. So it's kind of not for want of trying, and I think their version of events has had free run up until about now. So if they want to talk to me about their version of events, I'm here and I'm willing to listen. But as things stand, I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think they want to. So we'll have to leave it at that, really. So on to commentary on all this. I think we've all made some mistakes in this. I saw, obviously, a lot of myself in what was happening. And that's why I reacted quite so strongly as I did, I think. I probably should have waited for any details to come out, but then if I hadn't gone to Kevin, would any of these details have come out? You know, that's a kind of important question, I think. The untruth, or the one person's truth about an event got out, did the rounds, had all the reactions, got him booted out the con, all the rest of it, before his version of events ever had a chance to come out. And it's probably too late now. The idea of what happened is probably now cemented in people's minds, and I've had comments to the effect that he's being preemptively banned from some American conventions on the basis of this. And it turns out, so it would seem, that the alleged event never happened. Didn't happen. It was all in the players' minds, inferred from what they were told. None of them left the table. Nobody brought up an official complaint at the convention. They just went to Twitter, which seems to have been more effective, I suppose. I thought the whole scenario started with that situation in media res, which I would have found quite effective, I think, and then have done flashbacks that got them to that situation. But so I was wrong there. But that helps his case. It doesn't hinder it. The theme and the mood and the nature of the game was established in the previous acts before he got to that point. So it's even harder to see where their problem came in. Now, of course, you're going to say, but Grim, you were defending him when you thought the accusations were true. Well, yes, I was. Yes, I did. Even if he had done what is claimed, then I think the punishment was disproportionate and too fast, the kind of knee-jerk reactions that we get. And I believe in the power of role-playing as a storytelling tool, and it's appropriate, I believe, to tackle difficult subjects. I have issues with this culture of X cards and trigger warnings and spoilers and everything. I think you should make reasonable accommodations to players, but I think ultimately their individual responsibility for their own well-being lies with them, and they don't get to screw things over for everybody else because of their issues. I believe that you consent by sitting down at the table and playing and staying even when something happens that you don't like. You can always cancel your consent. You can always withdraw your consent by leaving. So to me it makes no particular difference whether the claims were true or not, because I think the punishment was disproportionate. I don't think conventions really should have that degree of control and oversight on what people are running in their games. I think that's quite sinister, in fact. And I believe games should be able and allowed to tackle adult subjects. So it basically makes no difference either way. But since it turns out to have not been true, this opens up a whole swathe of other things. We need to be more careful about knee-jerk reactions to social media. We need to consider the rights of the accused more, just as we would in a court of law. Conventions need to be very careful around this, or they might even open themselves up to legal action. As he mentioned, the statement as it stands is defamatory because it's untrue and says horrible things about him. Some of the people who've played in other games of his have turned up on Reddit and elsewhere. I'll append that to the blog version of this interview. And he just seems like someone with a bit of a sophomoric sense of humour, a bit of a slightly oddball sense of humour, who likes to subvert and mix genres. But this idea of the gang rape of minors seems to have been conjured whole cloth from the insecurities of the people who happen to be playing, and even then, not all of them. So, when something like this happens next time, take a breath, pause, find out what's actually happened, maybe. And if someone is just saying, whoa, slow up, hang on, what's going on, hold up a bit, has anything bad actually been done, maybe don't tar them with the same brush or end friendships over it, or whatever else horrible things have happened. Yeah, this is just another in a long line of lessons on why this kind of knee-jerk reaction is a terrible idea and is bad for everyone and bad for the hobby. We now have news articles out there stating something happened that is patently untrue, and yeah, there's a recording of the session. So I don't know. I expect some people are still going to be now arguing that his side of the argument is invalid somehow, or that their perception of what happened is more important, and what matters is that they were offended and upset, not the intent of whatever happened or what the actual plot or storyline was. How do you reason with those people? How do you have a convivial disagreement with them over particulars? Are they so invested that they can't admit they were wrong? It's a conundrum, and it's not good for the hobby, and it's not good for games, it's not good for storytelling, it's not good for anything, quite frankly. I don't know what the solution is, other than having more care and being more just. Zang.
Postmortem Studios, role-playing games, and a lot more to die for. Post-mort.com